Welcome everyone. This is the MasterClass. My name is Patricknazareth. I have around 30 years of experience in teaching and I would like to help you dispel your doubts should you have any. Today we look at the chapter Deep Water written by William Douglas. William Orville Douglas, to give him his full name, was born in 1898 and died in 1980. He was an Associate Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, where he served from 1939 to 1975, making him the longest-serving justice. He is known for his strong advocacy of civil liberties. He writes on nature, and he has written autobiographical essays. This excerpt, which we are going to study, is taken from an autobiographical book of his, of Men and Mountains. He had a great love of nature and outdoor life, and that deeply influenced his writing. It's very difficult to overcome fear. This lesson tries to teach us, or tries to show us how the author did precisely that. What happened to him? He tells us that he was at a place called Yakima. Yakima had a river flowing through it, which had a very strong current, and he wanted to learn how to swim. But his mother forbade him to go into the river because she was frightened of the strong currents there. However, there was also a swimming pool at the YMCA, the Young Men's Christian Association at Yakima, and he went there to learn swimming. Now he tells us that when he was a small child of 3 or 4, he was taken to the beach by his father. His father held him by the hand and they waded into the sea. The waves came at him, knocked him over with such force that he was, for a minute or two, underwater. This scared him. Even though he held on tightly to his father, the waves were strong enough to knock him over and give him a ducking. When he went to the pool to learn to swim, this fear of water was there. But wearing wings, taking things one step at a time, paddling, looking at other people swimming and trying to copy what they did, made him confident enough in his ability to swim. But one day he went there early. There was nobody at the pool. So since he was a young boy, he sat down, because you do not go into a pool without supervision. And a boy of 18 came in, a good-looking boy, a boy with a lot of muscles, who simply picked him up and threw him into the pool. What happened to the lad? William went straight down. He started drowning. William went down into the water. He wasn't exactly scared. He thought he wouldn't drown. He thought to himself, listen, I'm sinking through the water of the swimming pool. I will come to the bottom. And when I come to the bottom, I will jump up. And when I jump up, I will come to the top and I'll be fine. So that's what he did. He went down through the water. You could just see it was yellowish and dirty. Got to the bottom, tried to jump up. To his surprise, he found that he didn't have the strength to jump out of the water. And that's when he started feeling very, very afraid. And he goes up. He nearly reaches the surface of the water. His eyes, his face nearly come out of the water when he starts sinking again. He finds it extremely difficult to breathe because he's holding his breath, remember, and he needs to take a breath. But he can't. He's still underwater. Again, he's going down. He's absolutely terrified. He's worried about whether he's going to die or not. He reaches bottom and again he tries to jump up, but he can't. He just can't. His arms, his legs feel like lead. They do not respond to him. He does not know what is happening. He somehow or the other comes to the surface of the water, but again begins to sink. He takes a deep breath. Instead of air, he gets water. And he is drowning. He knows he is going to drown. He knows he is going to die. He has all but given up. A feeling of peace comes over him. He feels that this is the way I feel when I am in my mother's arms. He becomes unconscious. When he wakes up, he's been pulled out of the pool by somebody. And he can hear the boy who threw him in telling the other that, listen, I didn't really expect anything to happen to him. I'm so sorry. And the other replied, he nearly drowned. But it's okay now. Let's just look after him. He'll be fine. But William wasn't. He developed a deep-seated fear of water. Wherever he went, whether it was to the Cascades, which are a mountain range in America, and he saw water there, he couldn't go swimming in the pools. He used to get wet and the old feeling of terror used to come back. Fear of dying used to haunt him. As he grew older, people around him developed a love for fishing. So did he. But whether it was fishing for bass or fishing for trout or fishing for anything else, he found he could not enjoy himself because of this terror that followed him everywhere he went. Every time he saw water, this terror of dying followed him. This went on for some time until one day William decided he had had enough. He was going to conquer his fear no matter what. By that time he was a young man. He must have had a lot of money. He hired an instructor. What did the instructor do? The instructor rigged a system of ropes and pulleys all across the swimming pool. tied a rope around his waist, and made him swim from one end of the pool to the other end of the pool. It wasn't easy. The minute he touched water, the minute he went into water, the terror returned. Sometimes less, sometimes more. He was struggling in the water. He was finding it very, very difficult to even try and move his arms and legs. Patiently, very, very patiently, the instructor worked on him. He tried hard to overcome his fear, and slowly, very slowly, he crossed the pool. He began to learn how to swim. Until the day came when the instructor told him that, listen, you will be able to do it yourself. Now try it. And that's exactly what happened. William swam the length of the swimming pool. He developed confidence. He went to different places to swim. He set himself different goals, sometimes swimming here, sometimes swimming there. The terror did not really leave him. Slowly, 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 his confidence built up until he could go to different places alone. Finally, he swam all by himself across Warm Lake and back. And that was the time he realized he had finally conquered his fear of the water. Did his terror come back? Yes, it did once, when he looked down into the water, and that feeling came back. But instead of letting that fear overpower him, instead of letting that fear paralyze him, William told the fear that he was no longer afraid of it, and that feeling of being afraid simply vanished. The relief, the happiness that he felt when he finally conquered his fear of water is something that he says no one can realize until and unless you or me have gone through what he went through, a near-death experience. He learned what greater men before him, like Roosevelt, have always said, that what is to be feared is not death, but the fear of dying. Since he had known intimately the terror and the fear associated with death, he learned to appreciate his life and to live it with a greater intensity. Who are the characters in the story then? William Douglas, the narrator, a sensitive boy who's extremely fearful of water, but eventually overcomes that fear with courage and discipline. You have the big boy who threw him into the water. He causes him to nearly drown. A thoughtless boy, but not somebody who actually meant to hurt. Another boy who pulled him out of the water. And then, of course, the instructor, a swimming coach who helps Douglas face his fear and conquer it step by step. A very patient, a very methodical man. What are the settings in the story then? The main setting is the YMCA swimming pool in Yakima, Washington. There are other locations mentioned here, like the time he went to the beach. We are not told which beach, we are not told which sea. Cascades, Lake Wentworth, Warm Lake. And these places are where he eventually conquers his fear. What are the literary devices used here? First person narrative, where the author puts us into his shoes. It allows us to feel the fear that the boy must have felt, that the man felt, and the courage that was needed to overcome it. The imagery, there are vivid descriptions of drowning, the stark terror, the yellow water, paralyzed legs. The personification of terror, like William calls the terror Mr. Terror, or terror seized him, like as if terror was a person. There is metaphor, the curtain of life fell, which basically tells us how the author understood that he nearly died. There is allusion, where he refers to President Roosevelt. All we have to fear is fear itself. What are the themes that run through this chapter? Fear and its impact. How fear paralyzes a person physically as well as mentally. Then there is perseverance and courage. How any one of us can overcome fear or any shortcomings that we have through the resilience that we display, through sustained effort that we put in. There is psychological trauma that we undergo in childhood that we can carry into our adulthood and that do not allow us to live our life to the fullest. Conquering death, the author's near-death experience teaches us the value of life and the need to face it fearlessly. Self-discipline, how training, repetition and courage, belief in himself helps the author go ahead and conquer fear, learn how to swim. That's the lesson then there for you. I do hope I have been able to help. If I have, please remember to like, subscribe and share. There might be others out there who would need our help. Thank you so much for watching.